G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a quad harpoon gun with bullets exploding for area damage and 90% reduced weight major and minor legendary effects respectively. This weapon before you is what I'd consider the very best for a harpoon gun, and I've been saving this one for a very long time because I kind of wanted to do all of the lame ones first and then come back and hit you with one of these bad boys, because this thing, these sets of legendary effects, I think it really saves a harpoon gun. Other than that, it'd be kind of crappy, but no, this thing is actually really good. So obviously the quad makes it have a full ammo capacity, which means we don't have to sit through that god-awful reload delay after we reload a shot. Bullets exploding for area damage, just basically more damage, hit scan bullets, which is extremely useful. And of course, ammo retention, you can pull a lot more rounds out if you hit enemies with exploding damage, and 90% reduced weight is good too. There may be an argument that would say that the reload speed buff would be better, but honestly, I like this thing only weighing 2.5 pounds. It's like a weapon you keep in your back pocket when you really feel like bringing the rain of pain, I guess. But it's nice that it doesn't completely weigh me down all the time, so best top legendary effects right there in my opinion. 420 damage, haha, funny numbers. Let's go ahead and get this thing up in terms of its damage, because 420 is a stoner number, and this thing is much better than a stoner. Stoners tend to be pretty fucking useless, to be honest. Anyways, so we'll chuck on all three ranks of heavy gunner, and we've got demo expert here. Quick hands if you actually want to, get a quick reload out of this. Probably won't need it, use it all the time. Probably won't even proc for the most part, but it's there if it needs to be, if it wants to activate. And of course, Bloody Mess in luck. 1043 damage, so a casual 1k damage. We haven't even got this thing buffed with any adrenal reaction or any adrenaline. Yeah, there's a lot of adrenaline that goes into boosting weapons. Alright, let's see if we can start off by killing some feral tools. Looks like they've spawned. We're in power armor because stabilizers tend to work with this thing. As you can tell, the spread is extremely tight, which means we'll be able to use this thing at range, because unlike shotguns, despite being a scattergun with explosive rounds, this thing actually has incredible range. It's kind of like what shotguns are like pre-patch, which is good fun to use. And as you can tell, we get some harpoons back if we manage to take out our enemies in a fashion that allows us to get lots of harpoons on them. And if we're not really satisfied, there's another thing you can do. Bugger off, ghoulie. Oh, fine, you all want to dogpile me now, do ya? Well, I hate to mention this, but I've got a big old explosive harpoon gun, and it doesn't really tend to go the ghoulie's way. And I'm in power armor, so you can't just immediately knock me out of the fight. No, we've got a bit of tankiness about us, and that's the kind of stuff you can pull with a weapon like this. The fact that you can just get those quick follow-up shots with that quad legendary effect really makes this thing. And I reckon you could probably do well without the explosive legendary effect on a on a thing like this. But honestly, you kind of, once you go explosive with harpoon guns, you never want to go back. The hit scan, obviously, potential of these things just really makes it. Oh my god, poor little Reaver. Bless his little cotton socks. And who have we got here? Another Reaver. So it appears that we haven't pulled top tier spawns, but you probably noticed how I only started with 20 harpoons on me, but I've got more back now, which is just another good reason to use an explosive harpoon gun, because you'll tend to get back more ammo that you put out, especially if you're using one of these flèche receivers. And yep, that's what we got. So we're doing 1760 damage. So yep, a little bit of adrenal reaction is factoring into that, but like I was going to say before, before I got ambushed by a bunch of ghouls, if you're not particularly happy with the amount of flèches they give you, what you can just do is just keep shooting a corpse and you'll get even more. So honestly, it's an infinite weapon exploit, which honestly, Bethesda aren't going to patch weapons anytime soon, so enjoy it for the rest of Fallout 76's time, because if they leave the fucking meat hook and the pipe guns bugged as they are, they're just going to keep this thing going. For those of you who are a little bit observant and paid close attention to what I had in agility when I was doing the perks, well, I've got covert operative, and I'm going to use a sneak attack critical, see if we can't one-shot Swan. Not quite, about half of his health. Not that it really matters, he's dead now anyway. Alright, so we'll just use adrenaline and we'll charge it up against these particular Mirelurks, which apparently aren't top tier spawns, so Well, honestly, we'd be one-shotting them if they were level 50 dudes anyway, I reckon. Well, maybe not the Mirelurk Kings, but I reckon everything else will have a good run at. There's the Queen, having a quick look at that adrenaline, plus 50%. Is there anything else around? Oh, I heard something. No, that was just the Queen itself. Well, may as well get stuck into her. Didn't quite get that hit that I wanted. Hang on, I definitely can hear a thing. That's not a regular old Mirelurk stomping. No, I was hearing you. See, I thought I heard one, but he was just sitting where I couldn't quite see him. So there we go. He's made a Skyrim NPC out of me, and I just picked out 26. Was that 26 harpoons out of that Mirelurk Queen? See how this thing is like the most ammo efficient weapon in the game. It's insane. Okay, this time we've got something a little bit more interesting. These bastards. Now if we can manage to kill these guys quickly, then this weapon's got my yes rating. Not like I need to give it a yes rating. Ooh, he's sliding along. Sometimes they've got Segway powers, which is rather interesting. Okay, looks like we can't quite one-shot these guys like I was hoping, but these guys are quite tanky, so in terms of our performance against them, really, we're killing them faster than they can kill us, which is obviously a plus, but the fact that we can harvest more ammo than we use on them after they're dead is just great. And we're in caution for some reason. We managed to proc escape artists, and despite being in power armor and firing a harpoon gun, we actually got away with firing a harpoon there. Can we go for the one shot here? Yes! Okay, we've managed to nail him this time, and we even get a proc of quick hands there just to... we didn't even kill the one we were shooting at. See, they should have used this particular weapon. If Advent comes to invade, my angels should just be armed with quite explosive harpoon guns, and you just basically one-shot even the avatars, perhaps. Those avatar projected. That's a cool game. XCOM was cool. I'm going to put the live stream up so everyone can watch it if they missed it, because it's such a good game. I'm glad that I got to play XCOM 2 again, and War of the Chosen no less. This is great fun. I want to do more somehow. Okay, so one of those Mirelurk Kings actually gave me rattle hands, so I had to take a quick pit stop at the Fountain of the Youth just to get rid of that. And let's use this to some of its sniping potential, shall we? Obviously that bloke was partly obscured, so we didn't land all the pellets on him. I don't even see him now. Okay, so obviously elevation works heaps if you're using weapons like this, because you can just land explosives all around him, just like that. And the reflex sight, despite being a reflex sight, it zooms in quite well. And yeah, I tried to steady the scope there in vain. I don't think I did a lot. And I guess the main problem with this thing is that there's a little bit of random sway to it. It goes up and down, which is particularly odd, seeing as a lot of the heavy weapons these days give you a dot to where you're supposed to be aiming. Ah, yes, speak of the devil, open wide. Now, this one thing's kryptonite, I think, is Scorch Beast. For some reason, these Scorch Beasts are able to just resist basically all damage from this thing. They're a lot less susceptible than anything else, but that ain't gonna stop me from pinging at him from back here. Ah, you might notice right there how I've actually shot him and he just regenerated all of that health, which is particularly odd. And now I'm doing basically no damage at all, but I might be hitting him for like 2, 3, 4 damage per shot there. So that should be getting better. They're just bizarrely resistant to a weapon like this, which is particularly painful if you're using a one that only has a one-shot capacity. This one gets away with it simply because it just has so much ammo at its disposal in terms of how much you can actually fire before you need to reloading. Like, its ammo capacity is good. That's what I'm trying to get across. But yeah, it's for that reason that Scorch Beasts are particularly problematic if you're trying to use a harpoon gun, so making sure you've got that extra ammo capacity, it's just a big help, basically. I don't need to, you know, demonstrate against several hundred Scorch Beasts to show you that. That doesn't mean I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna take on some more Scorch Beasts, because I only pulled one spawn, which is odd, and we'll just open this up with a sneak attack critical. Now, ideally, I'd like to put on one gun army for a little bit of cripple or stagger chance, which would be good at taking these Scorch Beasts to the ground, but as fortune would have my luck has seen this Scorch Beast land, and even a level 51, the most mediocre of Scorch Beast kind, is gladly just shrugging off the explosive damage of this thing. So I'm hitting him for about 39-ish, 47 that shot, 71 with a couple of headshots, and I didn't actually manage to kill him before he took off again, which is slow. It's very, very slow, so it's a good damage dealer, but it seems to just hit a brick wall when it comes to attacking bats, which is particularly problematic, seeing as the big final boss of this game happens to be, you know, a larger one of these things, so, probably there are better options, but for day-to-day mobbing, this thing has got your back. This thing has definitely got your back. So, with that limitation in mind, this is probably a good time to switch to something, let's say, 50 cal. You could probably get away with using a Plant Buster Maximus. You punch a plant in the face and it gives you adhesive. Do that. Every time you see one of these things open, you run over to it, you pull out its guts and you'll get sticky glue for it. How good. But yeah, 50 cal, light machine gun, minigun will serve you much better. Anything that's got any more range than this. See, he's just, I'm doing basically nothing to him despite it being a weapon which, mind you, right now has 1200 damage to its name, and its condition bar is running out fairly quickly. This is one of the weapons that just happens to be like this. Yeah, when they went through and overhauled a lot of the heavy guns in this game, their condition bar to make them more robust, I suppose. This one didn't get the treatment, and like I said before, same thing goes with the reflex sight or the sights on this thing not getting that dot, to show you a little bit of a reference for an aiming. Because you won't be sniping anytime soon with this. I mean, I've done it, but not consistently. And unless you're targeting super mutants, which are very large lads, you can hit them from pretty far away. But that's the kind of the main limitations. But I realize now that I haven't even tested this against the muties. So yeah, let's go over there and see what we can do. One Scorch Beast Queen repair kit provided later. Let's get into killing some super mutants. So unlike Scorch Beast, these guys seem to respond a little bit more realistically to explosive damage, which means this is going to be a very cruisy run through here, especially if we can maintain our health at around 20%-ish. We don't have Nerd Rage or anything, we don't particularly need to boost this thing's damage all that much, because we can just, you know, throw so much out of it like this, but it is nice to get that extra adrenal reaction damage, so that's pretty good. We'll keep on going, we'll see what we can make out of this guy. No, wrong giblets, hang on. We got a Zealot's wood arm. Now that, my friends, is a middle finger, straight from the hand of Todd Howard himself, and we've actually broke the 1k, we're doing 2k damage. And you could probably be doing around 2,200-ish, if you decided to use this thing with Nerd Rage, but quite honestly, that's overkill. And you know what? Fuck these super mutants. If we wanna really drive the point home that we don't like them today, so whilst that super mutant dies after this, and honestly, don't need Gunsmith to maintain this. I think with the remaining time I have left to record this particular edition of my weapon gun show, almost 2,500. Holy cow, that's some damage. I don't think I'll be walking out of this place with all of my limbs intact, but while limb damage is technically cancelled in power armor, so hang on, is there someone in here? There was some random shooting before, and I am missing a few super mutant kills to start off. Or maybe they're just around the corner. Okay, they're probably just around the corner. Hang on, there's someone just there. Can I get them? And, ooh, that was a delayed strike. Okay, so, here's the situation, everyone. You're in a super mutant, right? You've got all of your boys around, and some person, you don't know who they are, do you know who they come from? They walk in with this big-ass gun. They're in this black power armor, looks like a big shell, orange-eyed, red-eyed enclave thing, and basically he lights up all of your friends and one-shots them. What do? Do you A, run at him with a wooden board, or do you B, try to hide and see if they don't detect you? And that is my question for you, because I need to switch cells, because apparently there was someone in here. or I could just switch over to the Hell Room, because for some reason a lot of the blokes in the main control room just didn't decide to show up. I'd imagine basically another player got in here, left the job half finished and walked out. Perhaps they were cherry picking legendaries, who even knows. The problem is with that, you're missing out on a lot of XP, and you can't really do that. If you were talking about that new raid where they give you like 9 to 13 XP a piece for kills, then go right ahead, and I wouldn't blame you. Speaking of the raids, I have come to the conclusion that I will not be testing weapons there. I don't like the raids. I think there's too much busy work and not enough mindless killing, to be honest. There's a lot of do this and do that before you can advance, and it's really fucking tedious and honestly not worth doing. It is nice how it's all instance, but for the next raid, could they have it be more difficult in the range of monsters that you'll be facing, and keep the rads to a minimum as well, so we don't have to keep popping rad away every 3 seconds. I mean, the radiation isn't too much of a problem, but I'd kind of prefer it not to be there, to be honest, so we can just focus on the health part of our health bar, not the radiation part, and we can go ahead and basically kill everything that we see in a very easy fashion. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the raid. Will not be appearing on this particular weapon series unless they make significant changes, which they probably won't, to be honest. It's fun to kill a lot of things, but honestly, Mirelurks and ghouls that give you like 10 XP a piece, not really my cup of tea. I can think of better things to do than waste all of my ammo doing that stuff. So unfortunately, probably won't be seeing it there. Anyways, that was a quad explosive harpoon gun. It's really awesome. Like there's not a lot of weapons in the harpoon gun variety that are better than this. Apparently I missed a guy. Well, if he had the courtesy of actually showing up red on my compass, I would have been able to kill this fucker by now, but there you are, mate. At least this guy's a little bit better armed. But again, take a look at that damage, 1905. Missed out on that adrenaline streak before, but yeah, not many things are better in the harpoon gun class than a quad explosive, that's for sure. Thank you very much for watching, guys.